Good morning, everybody. Good day and good afternoon, wherever you may be. Thanks for joining this latest British-Kazakh Society Education Group event. My name's David Hardy. I'm chairman of the Education Group, and the British-Kazakh Society exists to promote the best of relations between the United Kingdom and Kazakhstan and to enhance our bilateral relations. We always welcome new members, sponsors and partners to participate in the continuing growth of the society. And I'm delighted that the Kazakh British Technical University in Almaty has recently joined. The Education Group has the objective of facilitating communication and networking for members and interested parties in the post-secondary school education system in Kazakhstan and the United Kingdom. The group organizes a number of events during each year, including guest speakers, and the focus is on what society members want. We said at the outset of our group last year that if there is a demand, we may develop special interest groups and academic networks. And I'm delighted that we'll shortly have the second meeting of an advisory group set up as a direct result of our January event, which was a conversation with the Kazakh Vice Minister of Trade, Asel Janasova. Today, we have another conversation about dynamic degrees, unpacking advanced qualifications and skills pathways for scientific and industrial development. Before I introduce Dr. Montu Saxena, who will host the event, first of all, you've got some buttons at the bottom of your screen, and on the right-hand side, you can see you can get translation into English or Russian. For asking your questions, please use the question and answer box, which is further to the left of the screen at the bottom. And if you can ask your questions after the participants have presented, that would be most helpful, but you can put the information into that Q&A section at any time. Montu Saxena will host the event, as I said. Montu is director of the Cambridge University Central Asia Forum. He's principal research associate at the Cambridge University Cavendish Laboratory and a member of the British-Kazakh Society Education Group. Montu, over to you.
Thank you, David. I'm absolutely delighted to host today's discussion. It's something very close to my heart, and as Education Group, I believe this kind of will set a benchmark for kind of things we want to do beyond events where we simply talk about our own research or our own aspirations, but the key aim of the British Kazakh Society is to be able to explain to both sides how our different and intertwined activities can be fully capitalized on. And this would not be achieved unless we understand, coming from very different systems and very different historical, cultural, and institutional backgrounds, cooperation should not be something of a chance. How can we systemize these interactions? And it is no secret that the interest in British higher education has been one of the very early steps, one of the very early sort of signals that we receive from Kazakhstan, and both from the top of the government thinking, but also from the industry and mostly from the people, the citizens who have taken interest in British higher education. And this has been for a number of reasons, for people trying to attain new experiences, new skills, build new networks, and so on. The question is, 30 years later, how productive are we in achieving those aims? So today's two speakers show that yes, we are making an excellent progress here. We have two Cambridge PhD students, former PhD students, Cambridge PhD graduates from Kazakhstan, who are both have returned to Kazakhstan, having done their degrees, and are involved in productive work in different spheres. But equally, we have come to know over these 30 years that there are a number of highly trained Kazakhs and other Central Asians from UK universities have not always been so lucky like these two people. And again, it's no fault of anyone. It's just that the systematic differences in how industry, government, and institutions work sometimes are not able to translate the qualifications to their own benefit. And so today, I think is the first step in that direction, is the first attempt to build that. So we really hope the audience will participate and take back some of these messages to their employers, and if they're employers themselves, to take into account in their decision making. One of the things that has been is that how we label degrees in different countries, and even within the different institutions within each country, has always been slightly problematic in terms of language, as well as understanding of what the content and of the degree is, and how that translates into a skill set, which then is relevant for the employment of the people back in Kazakhstan. Cambridge, of course, being the most mystical of them, I would say Oxbridge, and I thought that's why maybe we'll start our journey here with that, with two people, one who has done the degree in hard sciences and other more on social science and policy side of things, and try to unpack how they arrived at those degrees, and how they can be understood as we look forward into development of a better understanding of the skill set that comes with a degree. And I will tell my old tale, which I always say, but it's always important to give a concrete example that how me as a physicist, is working also on social and economic policy of Central Asia and Eurasia. Equally, how the large number, of, say 40% of graduates in physics from Cambridge University end up working in financial markets, same as those who finish their degrees in history. However, those who finish, say, economic degree in economic sciences often work in different kind of jobs, not necessarily what are directly related to economic development. So these are the things which we want to talk about today, and we want to talk them through concrete persons. So we have our first panelist, Dr. Ainur Seitkan, and Ainur now came to Cambridge initially as a Bolashak intern, and her training, she will describe herself, but in hard sciences, led to further work in what would we call eventually returning back to Cambridge to do her specific research in Department of Earth Sciences, which already in UK is unique because in Cambridge we will call it Earth Sciences, but perhaps in other universities we will call it Department of Geology. Now, when we say geology, people immediately think of mining, oil and gas, but here, and I will not actually give away the punchline, I would let Ainur describe her journey to actually what somebody doing a PhD in Earth Sciences comes out with, kinds of skills, experiences, and how they can be relevant. Hopefully we'll discuss more to different industries, different sectors within Central Asia and Kazakhstan. Ainur, so please tell us a little bit about your own journey from your early education and leading to PhD in Cambridge. And Ainur currently, as you would have seen from the bio, is working as the position of a dean. So as we can see already, there is a crossover from scientific to administrative positions. But Ainur, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Montu, for inviting me. And this is my absolute pleasure to be here with you today. So I'm originally from the east of Kazakhstan. I graduated from a local high school, and from there I went to Semey State University to do my undergrad degree in chemistry and environmental sciences. After getting my degree and the unique qualification as a chemist and environmental scientist, as a teacher of chemistry and environmental science, I started my career at the same university as a junior researcher, and I worked as an assistant teacher. In 2002, I moved to Özkemen, which is next to Semey, not far from Semey, which is the administrative center of East Kazakhstan region. And the city is major mining and metallurgical center of Kazakhstan. And there are several metallurgical plants such as casting, titanium, magnesium plant, Ulba metallurgical plant, Bakarchuk, etc. So they produce different kinds of metals, such as uranium, beryllium, tantalum, copper, lead, silver, zinc, etc. And as expected in the city with a lot of heavy industry, Oskimian is one of the most polluted regional centers of Kazakhstan. And I think that this probably determined my further research path. In Oskimian, I got a job as a researcher and later as a teacher of chemistry in the Department of Organic and Physical Chemistry at East Kazakhstan State University. And I taught environmental chemistry for bachelor students. And from 2004 to 2008, I studied in so-called aspirantura, which is equivalent to PhD studies abroad. And my research topic was, at that time, was offered by my supervisors, Serba Nikolai Gerasimович Abjaparov, Abdumtalib Abjaparovich, and it was about the development of a new method for gold recovery from Bakarchuk gold deposit. Back then, the deposit was in a sustained care and maintenance mode. So it was crucial to develop a method. And that's why we took this topic for my dissertation. And part of my research was conducted in Almaty at the Center of Earth Sciences, Metallurgy and Beneficiation in the Laboratory of Vacuum Processes under the guidance of Rapunov Vladimir Evgenievich, whom I'm very grateful for support of my research, for providing necessary equipment for my experiments. And he, as a person, he's an excellent person. And the Center of Earth Sciences, Metallurgy and Ore Beneficiation is the main academic research institution in the field of metallurgy and ore beneficiation in Kazakhstan. And in 2009, I defended my candidate's degree in metallurgy of non-ferrous and rare metals, particularly in metallurgy of noble metals, or you can call it precious metals, yeah? And to be exact, in the metallurgy of gold. And after returning to Oskimian, I was appointed as a dean of the ecology department at East Kazakhstan State University. Then in the same year, I participated in a Bolashak contest. And I think that everybody knows what Bolashak means. It's future. So Bolashak scholarship was established by our president, Nursultan Nazarbayev, in order to educate talented students abroad at best universities. So it offers scholarships for master and PhD studies, as well as internship for medical, engineering, and teaching staff. And this scholarship allowed me to get a 3 months scientific training in Cambridge, where I first met Montu in 2010 in the Department of Earth Sciences. Montu was actually a person who organized this internship, not for me only, but for many Kazakhstani researchers and teachers, for people from different backgrounds. And using his personal and professional network, he found like supervisors for the internship. And during the internship itself consisted of 2 parts. First part was language training. It lasted for 2 months. My English wasn't that good at that time. And 1 month of research training in the Department of Earth Sciences. And while I was there, I decided to apply for a PhD studies because I have never dreamed of getting PhD in Cambridge, but I thought that I can try. And then, so I was among those lucky ones who got accepted to Cambridge University. And then for about a year, I struggled to find a sponsor for my studies, and I came across this merit scholarship program from the Islamic Development Bank, and they sponsored my PhD study. So I'm very grateful to this bank for sponsoring my PhD. And so finally in 2012, after finding a sponsor, I started my PhD journey in Cambridge in the Department of Earth Sciences. And my PhD research used features of the past, present, and the future of the Bakarchuk gold mine. So the topic was familiar to me, and I knew about the existing environmental situation, and I thought that it's a very interesting topic. and it's very crucial for my country for any remediation programs after closure of the Bakarchik deposit. So in my thesis, in my dissertation, I explored the environmental chemistry of arsenic and suggested new routes to gold extraction from gold arsenic bearing refractory concentrates of Bakarchik deposit. So the past mining and metallurgical processing led to the existing environmental situation, which was very severe at that time. And we studied environmental chemistry around the mine. And in my thesis, I suggested future development and possible implementation of the new environmentally friendly and cost-efficient method for processing refractory gold arsenic bearing concentrates, which can be found everywhere, not only in Kazakhstan. So during my third year in Cambridge, my supervisor, Professor Simon Redfern, who is an eminent scientist, and we applied together fund grant, and we won the grant. And in 2015, I started my postdoc position in Cambridge. And at that time, I was also finalizing my PhD research. So finally, I graduated from the University of Cambridge with my PhD in September of 2017. And after finishing my PhD, I got an offer from my home university, and also I had certain obligations due to my scholarship funded by the bank. And so I accepted the position as a head of the Department of Science and International Affairs at East Kazakhstan State University. Also, I took a faculty position and read some courses for master students and supervised some master and PhD students in the Department of Natural Sciences. So my job was mostly consisted of administration and teaching at that time. And I decided to leave the East Kazakhstan State University in 2018 to go to Astana, to the capital of our country, because my daughter was studying there. And first of all, I wanted to do more science rather than just teaching and administration. So I applied to several positions and started to work as a chief researcher at Astana International Scientific Complex, which includes several scientific institutes in IT sphere, in nature use, in history, and a university called Astana International University. And ever since, I've been doing research here, and from 2019, I've been working as the Dean of the Department of Natural Sciences at Astana International University. So this is all about me, all about my career.
Thank you, Ainur, for explaining the details and the richness of your background. I hope people are listening to the idea that how we cannot just look at a label of a degree and discern what people can do. And also it's very, very, very important for the industry in Kazakhstan and academia and government in Kazakhstan to look at the multi-skill set rather than traditional kind of a pigeonhole jobs that we have. And also I think it's very, very important to understand that the people will go through different career stages and they have different things to offer at different career stages. And so this is quite important for policymakers and decision makers to keep in mind this dynamic thing. So that's why we labeled our event today as Unpacking, because things continue to get unpacked, new triggers appear which require new skills. And before we move to our next speaker, I want to simply explain that one of the things that we pay attention a lot to in UK education is the shelf life of our students' degree, meaning what they have learned should not just become unnecessary or useless after a small period of time. And that is achieved by giving them opportunity to develop skills through which they can recharge themselves on their own to the next level and to do next thing. And I think Ainur's story very clearly explains that. And so thank you for that. We'll come back to you, Ainur, with some more clarifications as we go. But for now, we move to Dr. Chokon Laumelin uh, with a very different career path and not coming from hard sciences. However, moving towards towards sciences, and this is another very important aspect. We need more and more people within policy and decision-making sphere to be able to understand and engage with science for development of the country. However, again, if you look at from a traditional perspective, and you Google Chokan's degree in Cambridge University, you will say that he was a Center for Development Studies and has a PhD in development studies. What does it mean to an employer or decision maker or even a person on the street in Kazakhstan? Is he an economist? Is he a development worker? If you look at the title of his thesis, you'll say, well, is he studying the history of Soviet science, or is he actually engaged with scientific research itself? All of these things. And answer is that yes to all of those things, and also no to all of those things, depending on how you build your picture. So Chokan, over to you.
Hi, Montu. Hello to everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. It's my great pleasure to speak today here to all of you. And I'm slightly embarrassed because speaking about oneself is a thing we're not really used to. Really, I sometimes thinking my research, what I do is not, I'm not historian, I'm not an economist in the pure, in the pristine sense of these words. And actually, I'm going to continue my education, and I'm now applying to practical science communication course in Cambridge within a coming academic year. And I believe that precisely what I do is communicating science and organizing science. At some point, some time ago, I was really inspired by the word of really great, he's still called a superhuman in Cambridge by Montu supervisor Peter Lanzarich. It's a Soviet and Cambridge physicist, engineer, and science popularizer and organizer. It's Piotr Kapitsa, a Nobel laureate of 1978 for his contribution to low temperature physics. And he said that it is the rarest breed in our modern industrial world is to find those organizers of science, because it's really required a lot of things to comply with, including some social sciences, some communication skills, and knowledge of history. And of course, the most difficult one is understanding principles and philosophy of sciences. As not being scientist, I'm always tell myself that even physicists sometimes don't know much about other disciplines within physics. And certainly they can't know much about biology or say chemistry or geology, although of course their knowledge is quite superior. And so it's important to share the common platform of philosophy, of principle, methodology, and approaches, which can be shared for everyone, including those in sociology or social sciences or even humanities. And an example I'd love to give, it's the figure of the Soviet academician Oldenburg, who organized really set up a research framework which became the Academy of Sciences of the USSR. And actually this approach was adopted in Western Europe and the US in the 1930s, 40s consequently. Talking about myself, I was born in 1969, 52 years ago, in Alma-Ata. It was the capital of the Kazakh SSR at that time. And I was born and grew up in the family of geologists. Both my parents were geologists and were professors of geology. The first couple of ethnic Kazakh who were both were professors in geology. Then I attended high school in Alma-Ata, number 35, from 1976 to 1986. And actually was quite a good school, established in 1934 as part of the overall industrialization, Soviet industrialization effort. And actually, my alma mater, the Kazakh state at the time, now it's Kazakh National University, Al-Farabi, was founded in that very year, 1934, as well as the Saitkan University, when I'm teaching now. It's exactly the same year when all the schools, universities, or opera theater were founded in Kazakhstan to develop knowledge and culture. After serving my military thing, being a soldier in the Soviet Army from 1987 to 89, I went to study journalism because I was fascinated mostly by humanities and by literature and history. But my elder brother was historian by his major education, so I decided to take a slightly different path. But I always, as well, had a great interest for fundamental science, especially for geology, and I'm still grateful to my parents who were explaining me for years and years the connection between earth sciences, geology, metallurgy, and how it's creating technology and then influence and creating actually economy. And I believe that there is no more important discipline for Kazakhstan than geology, than earth sciences, because we are one of the largest countries in the world. We're within 10 of those, and it's still our land. Atamiken, as Kazakh always refer to this, the land of fathers and so on. It's very important and really important, and contains so much and does so much for the prosperity and hopefully for the future of Kazakhstan. Then after doing some private businesses, working in mass media sector, working in beverages sectors, and doing really many various things, I continued my study by studying European political economy at London School of Economics in 2001. And my master dissertation was dedicated to the comparative analysis of the pension reforms in Poland and Kazakhstan. And it was supervised by Professor Nicholas Barr, whose actually reference letter 15 years later helped me a lot while entering Cambridge eventually. And the main conclusion I would draw today from that analysis of 2 decades ago, that anyway, in our conditions, I mean Kazakhstan conditions, that eventually the state will take control over the private pension funds, and it's inevitable, and the prosperity of the pension system would be dependent on the state of economic affairs, and eventually what happened in Kazakhstan today. After coming back from London to Almaty, I moved to Astana, and I work a lot in the quasi-state sector, established 2 national TV channels, was running a number of newspapers, broadcasting stations, was doing some freight forwarding business. But at some time of the middle age crisis, I decided to change my course. I came back to academia because I couldn't really find explanation about the outside world for myself, and came to my personal conclusion that only science can explain or can help explain what the world actually is. And from 2014 to 2019, I was doing my PhD under the supervision of Professor Peter Nolan, and it was dedicated to development of science and social policy in the USSR, and how it's connected to industrial and technological development. And it wasn't really the history research. It was rather something new, multidisciplinary study, in which one of the most important aspects was that I was interviewing really prominent scientists, including Dr. Saxena, and with his great help, into various people from Professor Peter Littlewood, who was running the Argonne National Lab in the US at that time, to Indian astrophysicists or Greek quantum professors or chemistry professor developing superconducting technology in Moscow. And it was really an interesting study which helped me realize the unity and universalism of principles of science beyond frontiers and beyond any restriction of time. Because all the scientists keep saying the same thing, and sometimes in the same words, about the science being driven by curiosity, and about that how science is really the core and the center of all changes which happen to mankind. Thank you.
Thank you, Chokhan. Thank you for that background explanation and your journey towards your PhD research. And then again, we see that a set of skills that you have acquired through your experience, and now you're teaching in academia, but it's quite important that you find opportunity to engage further with this decision making, with building new scientific institutions and connecting to the global scientific network, the Kazakh scientists, as much as you have been able to do yourself. Because one of the very important thing is that in our continuous engagement with the natural wealth of Central Asia and Kazakhstan, we always imagine the future in which entirely new industrial sectors can come out, entirely new ways of doing things, rather than simply what is happening currently in most places, is that you extract your natural wealth and you exploit it internationally. However, the added value that can be achieved locally, not simply to create money, not simply to create wealth, but entirely new directions which address global challenges of energy crisis, of climate change, of a variety of, including the pandemic and so on. It requires relying and thinking about entirely new areas. And so before we turn to the audience for questions, and I can see already questions are coming up, I would just like to briefly touch with both first Ainur and then Chokhan, the question that what, in your own words, what are the areas, apart from what you described already, where your skills are relevant, which industries, which government departments, which sectors, new sectors that can develop, even, for instance, I know you developed new technology already for your PhD, you had a patent and it could turn into a startup. There are many different ways. So could you say a little bit about that?
Thank you, Montu. So, as I mentioned before, in my position as the Dean of Department of Natural Sciences, this position requires strong organization and managerial skills. And I also teach. I'm an associated professor here, and I read lectures for master and PhD students in biogeochemistry, environmental chemistry, ecotoxicology, environmental management, and biogeochemistry. And in addition, I supervise masters and PhD students' dissertation. And here I have to demonstrate my academic and research skills, as well as interpersonal communication skills. And since 2019, I've been working as an expert of the Register of Educational Programs of the Ministry of Education in natural sciences field. And also I'm an expert of the quality of textbooks and learning materials for bachelor degree and college students. And besides that, I'm a reviewer of 2 scientific journals in Kazakhstan, a chairman of the attestation committee of the bachelor and master students in my university, and a number of the attestation boards in other universities. And in the meantime, I write papers, publish textbooks, etc. I write monograph. And finally, from the 1st of June, I'm head of the admissions office. And this requires managerial skills and time management skills, which I guess I gained from my PhD and from my candidate's degree. Because PhD is a big project, and you have to meet certain deadlines in order to complete your studies in time. And I believe that my aforementioned skills might be useful or applicable in many spheres, in many fields. So I think that I would easily be a consultant in governmental or non-governmental organizations. I think I could work as a project manager since I have this project management skills, and also I'm often invited as a guest speaker to universities, seminars, and schools to share my experience as a woman in technical science, in the hope to aspire young generation to pursue science and always aim high. As I said, I have never dreamed of Cambridge, but when you aim high and you believe in your dreams, you can reach whatever you want. So I think that my skill set can be applicable in many spheres, be it industry or be it consultancy, oil and gas sector, metallurgical industry, because all of them, they to some extent, they relate to the environment, and the function of ecologists or environmental scientists is to protect it. So I think that my skill set as a PhD or postdoc, which I gained during those periods, they might be useful in many spheres.
Thank you, Ainur. And I'd like to just ask you to say, I know you're a very modest person, but recently you received an award for one of your monographs. Could you tell the audience a little bit about that before we move to Chokhan?
Yeah, thank you. So recently there was a contest organized by the Ministry of Education. It's an annual contest of the teachers of the universities, and I won a grant and the title of the best teacher of the university 2020. Yeah, and this is the title, merit-based award, and you have to have certain publications, you have to write textbooks and do other administrative jobs, so I think this is a very good award for teachers. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, and we're very proud of you for that. Chokhan, over to you, the same question.
I think the skills and above all the knowledge which was gained during the study is so multidimensional and so interconnected. So you really can connect it to really many areas of not only research but of business and which can allow work in either consultancy or teaching what I'm doing or communicating and organizing science. And I'm concentrated now on three directions which are very intertwined with each other. So both with Montu we have a sort of a plan or a dream. It's to launch a sort of a dozen of labs from from north to south and from west to east of Kazakhstan, which can really recreate a sort of in a new dimension the Academy of Sciences. But it's actually reviving research, and it coincides with the policy which Kazakhstan is implementing. It's an almost tenfold increase for research and development within a few coming years, and the next task is to actually establish science policy, because it's important. There are simple rules which must be followed while establishing science, independently on being it in the US, USSR, China, or Israel. You keep following those rules, and it's they're always well explained in scientific literature, especially like by Piotr Kapitsa, who was mentioned beforehand, and for instance by Vannevar Bush, one of the architects of the US technological post-war rise. And it's important to create this framework before this rapid development will take place. And the next things I'm doing, I'm an advisor to president of the Academy of Sciences of the National Academy of Sciences of Kazakhstan. And I've created an energy group of all experts, mostly from Soviet times, because it was for our conditions, and they're still the best. And we trying to transform the energy and the transportation energy landscape in Kazakhstan, because as believe in UN, for instance, the global energy system is going to be interconnected. It's going to be global, and we'll come together to the research Montu is doing in quantum matter and in low temperature physics about superconductivity, and so it's important to create an infrastructure, or started trying to transform it and to interconnect it with various regional and interregional thing. So all these three direction I'm working on, and of course I meet with a lot of academics, academicians, rectors, and try and really to keep up this ecosystem, or to revive it and to keep it together. And of course I do write articles, teach, and do all this things which an associate professor should do.
Thank you, Chariman. And I hope to the audience who's listening now, but we know that this video will be put up, so the audience who will listen to this in future, the clear message we want to give, and we hope we have done this by giving evidence that doing a PhD is not merely writing some narrow scope articles and then hiding behind a desk as your life. It is quite different from that, and unless and I'm not only talking about our two people here, the number of PhDs from UK and other places who are returning back to Kazakhstan need to be engaged more fully. And I hope you will help us to do that. It's essential. And I don't really mean here only PhD. Of course, we mean the research skills in general. They are acquired at all levels of education, bachelor's, master's, and also postdoctoral level. We have seen, of course, some great success stories as a colleague on this committee, Asel Janasova, who did a computer science degree in Cambridge, is now a vice minister, and we have seen even more senior people coming to do executive courses. But in terms of basic fundamental research and PhD, we really hope the industry in Kazakhstan, the government in Kazakhstan, the public in Kazakhstan understands that these are multi-skilled people, and more you'll engage with them, more you'll get out of as a country. So don't think of PhD as something very narrowly defined. Of course, we have a few more areas we can explore with the speakers, but I believe in the interest of time, I would like to bring public back into the discussion, rather into the discussion. David, would you like to say a word before we open to the questions from the floor?
Thank you very much, Montu, and thank you very much indeed, Ainur and Chariman, for your insights into the development of your own careers. I mean, the things that stand out for me are things that I think have been important for many years, but not recognized as such by many. Years ago, I remember that in the UK, it was regarded that engineering was perhaps the greatest liberal education, because in the past, many engineers didn't become engineers. They went into finance or politics or management roles, other areas. And I was very interested in this approach to interconnectedness and also the need to maintain and update knowledge and skills. And Chariman, you talked about continuing your education and this notion of continuing professional development. I thought this need for a multi-layered approach came out, a variety of disciplines and principles and approaches where things are shared with people from other disciplines, and the links between industry and academe and government, which is at the heart of what our education group is doing. And the fact that you can learn managerial skills, you don't have to go to a management course to learn managerial skills. You can learn it, as Ainur said, in the course of doing her PhD and other studies. Absolutely fascinating stuff and absolutely critical. And in terms of this exchange and so on. Everybody here has studied in Kazakhstan, in the UK, but I notice this month in the Astana Times, there's a notice that the ministries of education of the Central Asian countries, including Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan, have agreed to create a unified higher education area. I don't know whether that's looking at something similar to our European higher education area that evolved from the initially the Sorbonne and then the Bologna declarations, but this was for the exchange of knowledge, students and academic staff between the various higher education institutions. And this, I think, links with the first question we've got here from Mayura Zhanosova, which is, she's asking what is going to replace the Erasmus Plus program in the UK. So I wonder if I can hand back to you, Montu, and Chokhan and Ainur to tackle some of those interesting issues.
In terms of the first bit, of course, it's very new ground as to what will replace. However, institutionally, a program called Turing Fellowships or Turing Program has been announced by the government initially. An idea is that such a program would engage not only just between Europe, but globally in a similar way as Erasmus Plus has. However, we're waiting like everyone else to hear a little bit more about it and what the procedures would be and so on. But if you search for Turing, it's named after Alan Turing, who was the pioneer in computers, what we call today as computer science and coding and developing a computer, a Cambridge man himself as well. However, this is a UK level program, not just a Cambridge program. So that's my short answer to that. Shall we actually, is it possible to get Botagova's question in? Would you like to ask orally or type it in? How does it work, Alijan?
We have another question here from...
we have raised hand from Botagoz on the thing for quite a while from beginning, so I'd like to give her a chance to...
Yeah. Go ahead.
Whether you can unmute yourself and ask the question. Maybe she's got tired and left. We can come back to her. So meanwhile, we have the second question in Q&A from Tina. Can the other speaker see it? So Tina Shiosheva, who is a PhD student with us in Cambridge, and her question is, well, I'll read out the question. The achievements of all scholars are really very impressive and valuable. I would like to ask about the ability of these eminent scholars to influence informal academic cultures in Kazakhstan. For example, at the University of Cambridge, there is a supportive academic culture of voluntary mentorship and tutorship. Is there similar culture and community-minded mindedness in Kazakh academia? Have you been able to transfer the best ideas of Cambridge academic community traditions to Kazakhstan? Quite a wide-ranging question, but Ainur, have a go.
Yeah. So the traditions of Cambridge, which I brought to my university, if we are talking about this, then yeah, as a head of the Department of Natural Sciences, I tried to transfer my experience from Cambridge to Kazakhstan to my university, and the mentorship of students by PhD students. I saw from my office mate, they were mentoring the bachelor students in Cambridge, but I didn't do it by myself. So, and it was a great job because this helped bachelor students in their studies, and I think it is very useful for PhD students as well, because they learn like future teacher skills, which will be very useful for them. And here in Astana International University, we also implemented this practice, and students of the third or fourth year, they mentor our first year students. They help with their tasks, home tasks, and overall they help with the adaptation of the first year students here.
Thank you.
And also we organize weekly seminars, as in Cambridge, weekly seminars where we try to discuss their master theses and what kind of problems do they have, and how can we help them to sort them out. So these kinds of practice we implemented here.
Thank you, Ainur. Chokan, some reflection on that?
With the size of the salaries of professorship in Kazakhstan, you may call it the service voluntary. Yeah, apart from our professional obligations when we have students and we have PhD students to supervise, I personally spend quite a lot of time in giving lectures, including high schools and mentoring some pupils who show interest for science, or some applicants or PhD students, or it's on almost on a weekly basis. I have someone to approach me to advise or consult on what the university enter, what to study, and so on and so forth. So yeah, we're doing it because it's important, and I believe everyone should do it, because science is built up. It should be popularized. Otherwise, and nobody knows how this what seed is going to grow up. So we need to cultivate everything.
Yeah, I mean, one of the important points underlying the question, as well as the how to say the answers, is that institutional understanding of supporting these ventures, whether it's research, whether it's supporting of students and mentorship and so on. So one thing that's often kind of not fully disclosed, because this is a detail at some level, but a very important detail. So if you look at the idea of a Anglo-Saxon, I would say here, generally being British, American, Canadian, and Australian, New Zealand, and some similar places, say Singapore or Netherlands, who are within the similar kind of institutional structures. The proportion of time that is made available for academics to do their research and to carry out other additional services, and the balance of between that and amount of lectures they have to give, and indeed a proper salary structure, so they don't have to do additional jobs, and they can dedicate their time to research and teaching and mentorship. These things are also quite important to communicate to, and they are not only done simply by budgets of the university, which of course is the main source, with the government support and but also these can be helped by industry sponsoring, by industry giving benefactions to universities, and without demanding direct return from it. The idea of philanthropy, academic philanthropy, needs to be better developed within the space of Kazakhstan, and we hope that these kind of discussions, encourage people to sponsor professorships, studentships, and research projects themselves, which allow for these very things to take place. While we're waiting for the questions, and we're almost coming towards the end of our time today at 12, but I would like to very quickly ask my final kind of a question to end in a social sense. That do you recall others whom you studied with at different times and who ended up in different roles? And I'm here kind of ending today with the idea of networks and support network, which is also the underlying thing in Tina's question, as to how people in different industries, businesses, or in different countries indeed can connect with academia and support its relevant activities. So Ainur, any of whether your Cambridge colleagues or Kazakhstan or Semey, it doesn't matter. Some reflection on that would be nice. You muted, I'm afraid.
So, can I talk a little bit about my bachelor degree students, where they can where they can find a job? So, for bachelor here in Astana International University, I oversee three educational programs: biology, ecology, and recreational geography. And biology concerns many work sectors, such as healthcare, environment, agriculture, consumer goods, science and pharmaceuticals. And biology major students will ultimately find themselves in any organizations concerning biological objects. And for my ecology student, they will be able to find employment in any governmental, NGO, private and public institutions, in any sector where protection of environment plays a role. And we make sure that all of the graduates, they can find a job. And before the development of the educational program, we try to do market analysis, and we try to investigate need for specialists in certain spheres. And after then, we design an educational program. So even though natural science degrees are viewed as like more specialized, it is difficult to find a job without an advanced degree nowadays. And that's why many students, maybe 10% of bachelor students, go to get master degrees. And I oversee programs such as Master of Natural Science in Biology and Master of Natural Sciences in Environmental Studies. And for career growth, master degree is becoming a must in many industries in our country. And from the top of my head, I can say that then only 2% of those who study master go to get a PhD degree. And when I studied in Cambridge, so my close surrounding, after PhD, they found job in different spheres, different fields. For example, my office mate, Sarah, she has a bachelor and master degree in chemistry from Cambridge, and in her PhD, she conducted research on chemical composition and qualities of alloys used in jet industry. But now she works in global inkjet system in domino printing in Cambridge. So it's a completely different sphere. But her PhD skills helped her to work there, and she is a successful product manager there. And another office mate, Lil, also a graduate of the University of Cambridge in Earth Sciences, and her PhD was, I think it was in paleobiology, and now she works as a graduate analyst in thematic research at Global Data, which is a leading provider of data analytics and insights on the world's largest industries. Another office mate from China, as far as I know, she works in Oxford, Pujao. And so I can say that the skills that we acquired from our PhD is useful and applicable in many spheres, in and out of academia.
Exactly what I was hoping to hear more from you. Chokan.
Yeah, looking back at my studying 3 degrees. So first one, journalism, mostly went to journalism, although some of my those classmates went to business and entrepreneurship. The most diverse landscape, I would say, is coming from LSE. It's actually so many classmates and banking, hedge funding in London, in City, UN, some Kazana up in Astana, and really all sectors of economy and finance and governmental sector. Whereas my PhD classmate, the class was really small, and as far as I know, most of us went to continue it in academia, doing academic jobs. So
I think probably you'll find that many of them are taking the next steps into policy in international organizations and you know, international NGOs and indeed within governments of their countries, in increasing number of them. So we are right on time. To conclude, I don't see any exact questions at the moment, but I hope that we have whetted your appetite to learn more about the degrees, how the degrees are places of learning, especially this idea of siloed, that an economics degree or a physics degree only leads to those disciplines is you know, was never true, but it's much less true than ever it was, if it was ever true today. And we hope for broader engagement with the help of our specialists to unpack other subject areas and other industrial sectors in future events. So with that, I would like to thank you. I hope you will attend further events, join British-Kazakh Society, and participate in our events, and stay in touch with us and stay safe in these difficult times. Thank you. Goodbye from Cambridge on this occasion, and hope to see you very soon. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you, David. Montu.
thank you very much. It was an honor and pleasure.
Thank you from me to everybody for taking part, to Ainur, Chariman and Montu, and to all our participants. And our next planned event is in October this year, October the 27th, when Dr. Maya Chankseliani, who's Associate Professor of Comparative and International Education at the University of Oxford, will talk about universities contributing to societal development, the role of institutional autonomy and academic freedom. So wait for that in October, and we'll keep you informed of any other events that come up. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.